This is the August 25th, 2020 Plan Commission meeting. We will call it to order and roll call, please.
Hannah here.
Sullivan here.
Brillo here.
Oric here.
Kavich here.
Oldani here.
Super here.
Chandler here.
Okay. Currently, one of our commissioners is having a little bit of a hard time logging on, but we'll take this opportunity to have Carrie read in the notice of video phone conferencing for the meeting. If you would, Carrie.
The City of Oak Creek is authorized to hold this public meeting remotely during the COVID-19 public health emergency under the March 16th and March 20th advisories from the Office of Open Government and the Wisconsin Department of Justice. Per the advisories, this meeting being conducted via Zoom video conference with telephone conferencing capabilities was duly noticed per the City of Oak Creek Municipal Code and statutory notice requirements more than 24 hours in advance of the meeting. Members of the public have been advised of the options for participation via direct mailing to property owners within 300 feet of a proposal, via the COVID-19 information page on the city's website, via social media, and via the information contained in the meeting agenda. This meeting may also be viewed at the city's YouTube page, the link for which was contained in all aforementioned notice methods. The meeting recording will also be accessible on the city's YouTube page within 48 hours. Plan commissioners and participants are initially muted upon joining the meeting. Plan commissioners and staff have the ability to mute and unmute their microphones throughout the meeting. Please mute at all times except for roll call, motions, voting, and when recognized by the chair. Roll call and voting will occur per the usual and customary procedures, starting from Plan Commissioner seating positions south to north in the Common Council chambers. The chair will facilitate questions and comments by calling on each Plan Commissioner or by requesting the use of the raise hand function in the Zoom webinar control panel. Only speak once you have been recognized by the chair or moderator. Applicants, their representatives, and all other participants who wish to speak will be unmuted when there is a direct request for information from the Plan Commissioner staff, when the participant utilizes the raise hand function within the Zoom webinar control panel and the moderator verbally indicates that they are unmuted, when a phone participant dials *9 to indicate that they wish to speak and the moderator verbally indicates that their line is open. When unmuted, all participants must state their name and address for the record, then proceed with comments or questions. Questions and comments may be entered into the Q&A function within the Zoom webinar control panel, and staff and/or the moderator will monitor this function during the meeting and provide the information requested. There shall be no private messages or side conversations during the meeting utilizing the chat or Q&A functions. Chat and Q&A messages are part of the public record. There is one or more public hearings scheduled as part of this meeting. After the chair announces the public hearing, staff will read the public hearing notice into the record, state that the hearing is open and subject to the meeting procedure above, and provide a brief overview of the proposal. The chair will then proceed with the hearing by making calls for public comment. Following the third call for public comment, the chair will close the public hearing and proceed to consideration of the remaining agenda items. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. That will get us to the approval of the minutes of August 11th. If everybody please take a look. Kind of lengthy, but when you are satisfied there's no omissions, errors, corrections, omissions, we'll entertain a motion.
Seifert moves to approve the minutes of August 11th, 2020.
Hannah seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Brillo, aye.
Oric abstains.
Bukevich, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Oldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Thank you. And can we get the minutes to reflect that Alderman Guzikowski is now connected? So great. And Lori Miller has reestablished her link to it, looks like. Item 4, significant common council actions. Carrie?
Council approved the following: an ordinance approving a rezone of portions of the property at 3280 East Oakwood Road from A1 Limited Agricultural District to RS3 Single Family Residential with no change to the FW Floodway, FF Flood Fringe, or C1 Shoreland Wetland Conservancy Districts as part of a related certified survey map dividing the property. Also approved a resolution approving a certified survey map submitted by Laverne Burrs for the properties at 3280 and 3360 East Oakwood Road and 3380 East Oak Lane. Also approved a resolution approving a certified survey map submitted by Michael Faber, Ryan Business Park LLC for the properties at 1001 and 1199.
Did we lose you, Carrie? Or are you done?
It is showing she's still connected, but looks like she may have lost her mic on her side.
Let's give her a second to reestablish.
Can you hear me?
Yep, now we got you.
Okay, where did we leave off?
You were given the address in, boy, where were we? 9540 South 13th. I think you were through the third action for Michael Faber.
Okay, the last approval was a resolution approving a consent to release of easements between Legacy Riverwood LLC and Brandywood Estates LLC at 500 West Riverwood Drive and 8900 to 20 South Wood Creek Drive.
Thank you, Carrie. It gets us to item 5A, which is a public hearing for a sign appeal submitted by Aaron Stanton for the property at 2603 West Rawson. Would allow the applicant to install one sign, 6 foot by 3 foot wall sign per tenant on the exterior north elevations of the building. Carrie, would you like to read the notice?
Actually, Mayor, it's Lori.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jeez, man, I messed
That's
up
okay.
every single.
We make it hard on you.
I think I'm getting to think it's purposeful.
I like to keep you on your toes. Published August 12th, 2020, City of Oak Creek notice of public hearing before the Plan Commission. This meeting will be held by video phone conference only. Persons wishing to participate in the video conference, including applicants and the representatives, must register via the website prior to the meeting. The video conference will begin at 5:55 p.m. to allow participants to log in. Attendees who wish to participate by phone may do so by calling the City Hall 414-766-7000 before 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting, August 25th, 2020, to obtain a meeting call-in number. Persons who wish to view the meeting live without participating may visit the City of Oak Creek YouTube page at the link provided. Persons requiring other reasonable accommodations may contact the city at 414-766-7000. Requests should be made as far in advance as possible, preferably a minimum of 48 hours. This public hearing is for a sign appeal, which will be held August 25th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Again, this is an online video conference only. The appellant is Candace Falk. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. My apologies. Aaron Stanton, CMA Construction Management Association. The tax key number is 762-0016-001, and the property location is 2603 West Rawson Avenue. To request a variance from section 17.0706J2, which states in part that the individual tenants in buildings and developments with internal entrances only shall not be permitted a wall sign. If granted, the variance would allow the applicant to install one 6 foot by 3 foot, 18 square feet wall sign per tenant on the north elevation of the multi-tenant building without individual exterior entrances on the property at 2603 West Rawson Avenue. The zoning of this property is B4 Highway Business District. All interested persons wishing to be heard are invited to be present. Dated this 5th day of August 2020, Plan Commission, City of Oak Creek, Wisconsin, Mayor Dan Bukevich, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Lori. As this is a public hearing, we're going to do the the call for the public hearing first, aren't we? Or will you go
Yes.
through that? Okay. We'll make 3 calls. This will be the first. Anybody wishing to speak, please use the raise hand function, and we will cue you in to speak. We'll need your name and address, please. I know we had one speaker, Aaron, was looking to speak on this. So, Kevin, is anybody out there?
Aaron, you are able to speak. You just have to unmute yourself.
Hi. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Aaron Stanton with CMA. Address is 4015 80th Street, Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Okay, Aaron, floor is yours.
Well, so I sent in this application to be granted a variance for the signage on the 2603 West Rawson building. We run into some challenges with tenants and their signage. It's created some confusion for their customers. Right now, the building is, the front side of the building faces Rawson Avenue, and the back side is just facing a parking lot and then some, I guess, just green space in the back. Current ordinance requires, we were permitted to have signage on the building for the tenants, but only 1 sign per tenant. And that's if they have an exterior entrance. And we've got a few that have exterior entrances. The challenge is they don't have roadside signage. If we put the signage on the parking lot sign, they need signage on the parking lot sign because it's the only way for their clients to really identify where their suite is. It's a very long suite, very long building, and a lot of the facade of that building all looks the same. And so the tenants are getting very grumpy about this. I think at one time there were 2 signs on the building, maybe with the old ordinance, but the building is kind of being converted to a front to back retail, or I guess the tenant suites are changing from one single unit or one single use of the building to multiple tenants. And so it's kind of happening in a progressive way. And subsequently, as each tenant fills the building, they're all looking to put signs on the roadside as well as on the side next to their door. So the intent of this variance request is to try to accommodate these tenants in a way that makes sense. The building is kind of unique. They only load from the parking lot side. And ultimately, we've created a sign plan, a master sign plan that was approved. And we try to do it in a very tasteful and controlled way so that the signage doesn't get overwhelming or become a nuisance for the neighborhood either. So I kind of yield my comments back to this report, and it kind of shows what we're working with on the building. There's a set of plans there and a note on there that, you know, clarifying some of the comments that I've made.
Okay, thank you. Second call, anybody wishing to speak? No one, Kevin?
Correct, Mayor. Nobody raised their hand.
Okay. Third and final call.
And nobody for that call either.
Okay, we will now close the public hearing and we'll move on to item, is it 6A? 6A, which is consideration of this sign appeal. At this point, it looks like I will turn it over to Lori. She'll give greater depth and explanation of what's being asked here. So, Lori?
Sure. So as briefly mentioned in the public notice, this is for 1 6-foot by 3-foot wall sign per tenant on the north elevation. As Mr. Stanton mentioned, that there are several suites, a few suites within the project that have their own external entrances, and so they are allowed to have signage. So this is going to be able to draw more attention to those existing tenants that don't have exterior entrances. So this is basically section 17.0706 states that individual tenants in buildings and developments with only internal entrances shall not be permitted a wall sign. And these are some of the proposed wall signs. This is the partial north elevation, just the west half of the building. As you can see, they're not higher up on the parapet, but actually lower towards the center of the building for each wall sign is being proposed. And this is the east half. And this is the south elevation sign for tenants with external entrances. As that is all we have for this.
Okay. Got it. I've been by this building more times than I care to for all the trips I've been making up to 27th Street for things, so kind of familiar with it. This time we'll open it up. Commissioners, comments, questions. We'll start with from my left, Christine.
I'm actually having only one comment regarding, I have no problem with various or several signs for each entrance. It's just my comment would be to make sure that one sign is not much bigger than the other. So we have a consistency between those sides and color background and all such. So it will have still an appeal on the outside of the building.
Good point. Good point. Matt?
Engineering has no comment.
Dawn?
No, I think it looks good.
Greg? Oh, you're muted, Greg.
I have no issues with this. I think it's needed to better direct people to the building and where specific tenants are. My kid's dentist is in the building, and I know that, so I know where to go. But definitely signage along the street there will help direct customers.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Chris?
You know, I kind of figured we'd be back at this when we approved the first portion of this last year, because I just had the feeling that something wasn't going to work. So it makes more sense with this additional signage.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Don?
I have no issues or questions.
Okay, Fred?
No, I don't see any problem with it. The only concern I have is, can they have consistency though with the type of sign, that we don't have 7 different types of sign that, you know, kind of detract from the building?
I would agree with you. We'll get that answer. We'll go through Chauncey. Anything?
Yes, I do have a question for the applicant. Are the signs on the north side that you're requesting this variance the same as the signs on the south side?
Aaron?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they are. There was actually 2 more pages that I believe I sent in with, and you can see in the digital report that was forwarded to me, or that you can download for this meeting. And actually it shows a sample of the sign, and the signs are very uniform. The way that we've designed them is they have a placard that gets mounted to the building, and that placard then has the tenant logo and tenant name mounted on the placard. Very consistent, very simple and uniform coloration that enhances the building. And it's the same way all the way around, so as to not show favoritism to one tenant or the next. Plus, we want to make sure that the building is beautiful when it's all said and done. And so there is a sign plan that actually shows that concept. Not sure if you guys have access to it or not.
Okay, thank you, Aaron.
I apologize, Aaron. That is in their packets, but it for some reason didn't make it into the slide.
No problem.
Thank you for that, Aaron. Fred, Chauncey, does that kind of satisfy your curiosity, and Chris on consistency?
Yes, no problem.
Okay.
Yes, and I have one additional question.
Oh, go right ahead.
In our packets, it identified that the tenants were using decals since these signs weren't there. So will those decals be removed, or do we have to approve decals for each tenant also?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So the tenants, they apply decals on the inside of their suites in the windows just to help their clients see temporarily. So the intention now with an approval for the sign variance, I think we can get the signs adequately displayed on the building so that they would remove those decals and there would be no need for them moving forward. If they wanted to do something with that, they would need to get an approval from the building owner first, and of course then from the Plan Commission as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other further questions or comments? If not, motion on 6A.
Seifert moves that the Planning Commission approve the sign variance allowing the installation of 1 6 by 3 foot wall signs per tenant on the north elevation of the building located at 2603 West Rawson Avenue.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Hannah, I.
Sullivan, aye.
Carrillo, I.
Lorick, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Aldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Great. Thank you very much. Good luck, Aaron.
Thank you so much, Plan Commission. Appreciate all the hard work you guys do.
Going back to our next public hearing on 5B, it's another sign appeal. This is submitted by Candace Falk for the Ryan Companies, and it would allow the applicant to install 1 23-foot by 10-foot square temporary banner on the north elevation of the Amazon building at 9700 South 13th. Lori, would you like to officially read that in?
Sure. Published August 12th, 2020. City of Oak Creek notice of public hearing before the Plan Commission. This meeting will be held by video phone conference only. Persons wishing to participate in the video conference, including applicants and the representatives, must register with the website prior to the meeting. The video conference will begin at 5:55 p.m. to allow participants to log in. Attendees who wish to participate by phone may do so by calling the City Hall 414-766-7000 before 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting, August 25th, 2020, to obtain a meeting call-in number. Persons who wish to view the meeting live without participating may visit the City of Oak Creek YouTube page at the provided link. Persons requiring other reasonable accommodations may contact the city at 414-766-7000. Requests should be made as far in advance as possible, preferably a minimum 48 hours. This public hearing is for a sign appeal, which will be held August 25th, 2020 at 6 p.m. As stated before, this is an online video conference only. The appellant is Candace Falk, Ryan Companies US, Inc. The tax key number for this property is 905-9008-000. Property location is 9700 South 13th Street. This is to request a variance for section 17.0709B1, which states in part that temporary signs shall not exceed 32 square feet in area on one side or 64 square feet in areas on all sides, and does not exceed 8 feet in height. The variance from section 17.0709B2, which states an owner or occupant of a property may be granted a temporary sign permit up to 4 times per calendar year, permitting that owner or occupant to display 1 temporary sign for a maximum of 15 days each pertaining to the applicant's business. If granted, these variances would allow the applicant to install 1 temporary sign that's 230 square feet temporary sign on the north elevation from August 26, 2020 to December 30th, 2020. So approximately 127 days for the building on the property at 9700 South 13th Street. The zoning of this property is M1 PUD Manufacturing District. All interested persons wishing to be heard are invited to be present. Dated this 5th day of August 2020. Plan Commission, City of Oak Creek, Wisconsin. Mayor Dan Bucage, Chairman. Mayor?
Thank you, Lori. We will make 3 calls. This being the first, anybody wishing to speak will need your name and address for the record. Kevin, is there anybody with us?
It doesn't look like we do have a caller, so if you're wishing to speak on this item, please press *9. All right, they did not raise their hand. So no one
Okay,
for
we
that
will now make a second call. Anybody wishing to speak, *9, or the raised hand function.
Nobody for that call either.
And third and final call, anybody wishing to speak, *9 or raise the hand function, and Kevin will allow you to speak.
And nobody for that one either.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. We'll now close the public hearing and move on to consideration of that sign appeal in item 6B. So open it up to the commission. We'll start with Commissioner Chandler this time.
I do have a question for the applicant. So
I don't, do we have the applicant with us? I'm unsure if we do.
The caller just raised their hands. That might be the applicant. I'll let them speak.
Hello?
Caller, you might have to press *6 on your phone to unmute.
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. This is Candace Falk, 9700 South 13th Street, Oak Creek, Wisconsin. I'm the applicant for this temporary sign.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Chauncey, go right ahead.
So my question is, can you provide a little more information on why the sign is requested to be so large in comparison to what's compliant for a sign?
I sure can. So this sign is proposed to go on the west side of the building, which is facing 13th Street. It is going to be so large just so that people from 13th Street can see the sign. We are set back off 13th Street and Ryan Road a little bit. The building is rather tall, so this sign kind of makes it pop. It is for hiring. So they're looking, to get applicants to start to apply to work there. So they're trying to make it as visible as they possibly can. The tenant being they.
And where is it in relationship to the other 2 signs that are on the west side of the building?
So it will be to the south of the furthest north sign. There's 2 entrances here. There's a main entrance, which is right in the middle, and there's a recruiting office entrance, which is to the north of that main entrance. And this sign will be right above that recruiting office entrance, which is where they actually take and interview and take all the applicants.
Hi, Candace. I can, if the Plan Commission can see my cursor, this is where the recruiting area is. I apologize. So the plan that was sent to me said it was going to be on the north side. I did not realize that there was a location change, but the recruiting area is right here where my cursor is.
Sorry, I think directions got mixed up there.
That's okay.
So will this be larger than the recruiting sign that's there today?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then can you also provide a little more information on the reasoning for needing the sign for more than 15 days or actually 127 days?
I sure can. So they start their hiring process relatively early, just to get people kind of onboarded. They try to get the team in place, but they're not actually going to be opening for associates inside the building until November. So they're trying to get all the hiring done prior to that, but they want to continue hiring until that point. And they figure that it'll take about that long to get the required number of associates that they need for the warehouse to operate.
And one additional question, for other facilities, what is common to advertise for employment? Because I haven't seen this type of sign on any Amazon buildings prior to this.
I can just answer from past experience. So if we've had these types of signs on the past Amazons that I have built, they also do some advertisement on the radio, the TV, just kind of in the local area, trying to recruit applicants from those areas.
So you have had this type of advertisement on the buildings before?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank
No
you,
problem.
Chelsea. Fred?
No, they've answered my question. I was concerned about the 127 days too, but they answered that.
Okay,
That's
thanks,
it.
Fred. Oh, are you done? Did I cut you off?
I'm done.
Okay. Don?
I don't have any, excuse me, I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay. Chris?
More a statement. I'm glad it's only a temporary use request because this sign is just, it's big. It's really big. So I have a little heartburn with it, but I realize the intent of it, and I realize that it's for a limited time. I still have a hard problem with the 127 days, but that's my position.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Greg?
I don't have any questions. I guess I feel that it's an appropriate size given the size of the building and the distance from the street. And I get that they're trying to recruit the best people and a lot of people to fill that building. So I'm fine with the length of time they're asking as well.
Okay. Dawn?
No concerns.
Matt?
I have nothing.
Christine?
Like others have said, I have concern, not just with the size, is because the length of how long will it take them to recruit. I understand it's a big factory and they need a lot of recruits, but also, I don't want to say this, but texting and driving, I don't think it's the best thing to do on the road here. So I don't know, I have mixed feeling about this, in addition to the size as well.
Okay. Okay. Guess I kind of fall along the size, given the relative size of the sign, which is big, proportionally speaking, on a 4 million square foot building, 4 stories, I understand why it's that large. If you go through there, the length of time, again, the recruitment to fill, train, the whole thing, and bring them in waves to what they're going to do. They're not going to go through orientation for the 1,000 or 1,500 people they're going to bring in. I understand that. We just have to be diligent when the time limit's up, that they bring it down. That should be adequate time. Otherwise, I don't have a lot of reservations. Christine does make a good point. Please don't text and drive. Hopefully the number's easy enough to remember. There's only 3 numbers to really remember, so to speak. So unless there's any other questions or concerns, we'll motion.
Seifert moves that the Planning Commission approve the sign variance allowing the installation of one 23 by 10 foot temporary sign from August 26th to December 30th, 2020 on the north elevation of the building located at 9700 South 13th Street.
Guzikowski, second.
Roll call.
Hannah, I.
Sullivan, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
David, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Donnie, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, I.
Okay. Thank you very much and good luck with your recruitment. When do they plan to begin, Candace?
They will start having associates in the building towards the end of November.
Okay. Have they started actively recruiting and taking applications through the texting process or whatever they use?
They have not started that process yet. They look to start it pretty soon here, though.
Okay. Well, good luck with everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6C is a landscape plan review. That is for the mod homes for the residents at Oakview Development at 10730 South Howell Avenue. So, Carrie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a proposal for landscaping for the common areas for the entire PUD. This is excluding the clubhouse, which was previously approved. That was done in April of this year. The lighting plan was approved in June, and you can see that the PUD was approved last year in May. So again, common landscaping for the development, excluding around the clubhouse. So if we go to the landscape plan itself, we'll start from the north side. What we're looking at is landscaping along Howell Avenue for the most part, and some street trees that are in between each of the units. Kind of follows along the south side as well. There is a stormwater basin and some wetlands that kind of prevent that continuous landscape pattern along Howell Avenue. But you do see trees that are in between the homes on the south side of the property as well. There are a couple of things that are missing. Transformer boxes and other ground utilities. They're not shown on the plan, but they are being cited as we speak. 1 meter box location was shown on the lighting plans approved June 23rd, but they are not included in this particular landscape plan. So we will need to have that information on the final plan before it is approved. And plans that have been submitted include what are called typical plantings around utility boxes, but we'll need to have those identified locations for all of the utility boxes and transformers and whatever else needs to happen on the ground there once they've been sited. One last thing, the plans are missing the heights of the plants at installation and maturity. We will need those included as well. If the Plan Commission is satisfied with the plans as proposed, there is a suggested motion for approval on the screen. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Start with questions from the commission. Christine?
I have no question. Thank you.
Matt?
I have no questions either.
Dawn?
No questions.
Greg?
I have no questions, thank you.
Chris?
None for me.
Okay. Don?
I do have one question. The mulch trail, that's part of this development, correct? In the back? I know we've had this in front of us a couple times. On the all the way to the.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is part of it, I believe. Carrie?
It is contained on the property, and it is part of the development.
Okay, that's the only question I had.
Okay. Fred?
Yeah, I have just one question. Is there going to be any planting or shrubs or anything on the north end, kind of to block that from the neighbors to the north of them?
North.
There's nothing proposed in this landscape plan for a buffer along the north property line, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Chauncey?
My question was answered about the mulch trail, so no more questions.
Okay. I would imagine that the plan was vetted out through city and forester, so I guess I'm okay with it. The mulch trail, interesting. Seems like a lot of maintenance, so mulch-wise, I'd have to defer to DPW how much it is to redo our trails that way, but I know we do them in the city that way, so it's not an unlikely way to do it. So otherwise, I have nothing. So, motion then on C.
Guzekowski makes a motion that the Plan Commission approves landscape plans submitted by David DeSanto Mod Homes LLC for the property at 10730 South Howell Avenue with the following conditions. One, that all relevant code requirements remain in effect. Two, that all conditions of approval from the April 14th, 2020 and the June 23rd, 2020 Plan Commission reviews are in effect. And three, that all revised landscape plans incorporate staff comments is submitted in digital format for review by the Department of Community Development prior to submission of building permit applications.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, I.
Sullivan, I.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Don? Did we lose him? I don't see Commissioner O'Dani.
I believe his connection may have dropped.
Yes, he just yes, his connection is lost. We will move on with the vote and see if he comes back by the end. I'm sure he's trying. Commissioner Seifert?
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Okay. We have gone on. Next is a certified survey map combining the properties at 101 and 111 West Oak View Parkway. Excuse me. Carrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a proposal within the Oakview Business Park to combine the two properties that are in the hatched red area on the screen. This is in advance of review proposal for expansions to the existing Stella and Chewy's facility that is on the property at 111 West Oakview Parkway. On the screen now is the proposed certified survey map. Again, it's just combining those into one conforming lot. There are no issues that have been identified by staff that have not been incorporated into the map that we are aware of as of yet. However, we do have within the suggested motion a cover for any technical corrections that may be required should we have missed anything. And there is a suggested motion for approval on the screen. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Commissioners, question, comment time. Commissioner Chandler.
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Seifert.
No questions.
Commissioner O'Dani, I see you're back. Anything?
No questions at this time. I'm still kind of catching up.
Okay. Alderman Guzekowski.
No questions.
Alderman Lorick.
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Carrillo.
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Sullivan.
No questions.
And Commissioner Hannah.
No questions or comment, thank you.
I have nothing either, so there's no sense holding it up. We'll go to a motion.
Lorick will move that the Plan Commission recommend to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by Deborah Kessler, STC Oak Creek LLC for the properties at 101 and 111 West Oakview Parkway are approved with the following condition: that all technical corrections, including but not limited to spelling errors, minor coordinate geometry corrections, and corrections required for compliance with the municipal code and Wisconsin statutes are made prior to recording.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, I.
Sullivan, I.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Ladani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Okay. Thank you very much. And that'll take us to item E, which is a review of site building and landscape and related plans for the building and the additions to the existing manufacturing, parking, and dog runs on the property of 101, 111 Oakview Parkway that we just did CSM on. So, Carrie.
Yes, thank you. Again, this is within Oakview Business Park, and now it's on a much larger parcel that we get to talk about. But the proposal is for 2 additions to the existing building being a pet food facility. The additions are on the east and west, and then we'll talk about the dog run that'll be proposed on the north side of the property. The addition on the west is a little bit over a 35,000 square foot addition for a freezer. And on the east, the larger addition is just over 104,000 square feet for food production, finished goods shipping enhancements, and a new production employee area that includes locker rooms, etc. And the expanded and relocated dog run, again, is on the north side of that property. There is one new access point that is being proposed for that area because there will be additional parking up there as well. But these are the existing conditions for those who are not entirely familiar with the site. The existing 160,000 plus square foot facility on the property here at 111 West Oakview Parkway and the associated parking therefore. And this is their proposed site plan. So we're going to talk about both of those additions, 1 and 2. 1 is the west side for that freezer addition. And if you can see my cursor up here, I'm not sure if you can see that. This is the proposed dog run that's actually going to get a little bit larger, and that parking is going to be expanded onto the north for the accommodation of the new employees that we will be talking about as well. The 2 proposed additions do meet all setback and dimensional requirements. As far as staff is concerned, they're not anticipating any additional office staff. They're going to remain at 75. However, they are going to increase from their current 400 employees for production, which includes temporary staff, up to 500 over the course of 3 years following this particular addition. So the new access, as you can see, is on the north, and that'll be for the additional employee parking. That dog run, we will be talking about the access to that later, but it is on the north side as well. The dog run itself is proposed to be enclosed with a chain link fence. We don't have the height for that or any other details at this time. The minimum requirements for manufacturing, processing, and fabrication operations is 1 for every peak shift employee. So this comes into play whenever we're talking about parking requirements. And since the first shift, they are going to have 250 anticipated employees, that would equate to about 250 total stalls that they would need to provide on site. They are actually providing 349 with the future capacity shown to the north, not on this plan, but in another plan. Should they need it, 80 additional spots can be provided on that northern part of the parcel. They are actually going to have some unique truck traffic for the site that will increase. Currently, they have about between 20 and 30 shipments to and from the facility, and then they have about 10 or so shuttles that go between existing sites within Oakview Business Park for storage purposes. Those will both increase the shipments to 35, and then the shuttles within the park, they're anticipating increasing to 20.
Emergency curfew for 8:00 p.m. tonight, August 25th, east of I-94. Citizens need to be off the street.
Someone has their announcement on. Thank you.
August 26th at 7:00 a.m.
We'll move on to the landscape plans for this, and we're going to take this in pieces. So over on the right-hand side is the overall landscape plan for the entire property with the additions and the dog run and new parking. The addition on the west side, you can see they're proposing landscaping along that corner there to soften that new addition, and then some landscaping that is on the southwest corner. That is actually for screening purposes for the 3 new dock doors that are on that side. Moving now to the north side of the property, that includes landscaping along Oakview Parkway, around the dog park, within the parking lot itself, and then landscaping around it. It's not entirely clear from the inset here, but if you look at the overall plan, you can see that there is a little bit of distance between the parking lot and Howell Avenue. However, it's set up a little bit, so the landscaping is provided as additional buffer to Howell Avenue. It is required for the parking lot, however, and they did add that, and we want to thank them very much for doing that. Same thing for continuing along the east side for the new addition. Parking has been added along the entirety of the east for future parking, and that landscaping buffer has continued around the southwest corner, or sorry, excuse me, southeast corner. And then there is a little bit of landscaping again in an island to block those new, I believe it's 6 overhead dock doors on the southeast. We do need planting heights for the proposed shrubs. We did get heights for the remaining trees that are included in the landscape plans. As a reminder, all ground building rooftop mechanical units, utility boxes, and transformers need to be screened per code. Most of the new mechanical equipment is actually going to be screened with the proposed addition. You can see that in the inset here, where the equipment is going to be screened by the east addition. The height of the building should fully screen those. If any of the mechanical units are not fully screened from Howell Avenue at the time of installation, we will need to talk about screening at that point. Moving on to the building itself, the west addition, again, for the freezer, there's a couple of components that are included in that freezer addition that are on the floor plan on the screen right now. The proposed materials for the west include insulated metal wall panels, and those will be painted to match the adjacent. When we talk about the freezer addition, it's a little bit different from the east addition, which does not have a freezer component. The metal panels are required for the freezer itself. The existing freezer has metal panels as well. So even though we do not have metal panels listed as approved primary building materials in the code, there has been information provided by the applicant that was included in your packets as well, explaining why the additional cladding would be problematic. That would include either replacing the existing metal panels for the freezer and then adding on, or it would require penetrations for connecting for instance, concrete or a concrete tip-up panel to a metal panel, and that would undermine the freezer component itself. So what they're proposing is a painted metal panel to match the surrounding building. Assistant Fire Chief Havey has just announced that he has to exit this meeting to attend another meeting. Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate your input. If there are any questions, we can always contact Mike at a later date.
Thanks, Carrie.
So with the metal panels, however, we do have a requirement that a 3/4 majority approval of the Plan Commission it's appropriate for this particular request. If supplemental design elements or improvements are incorporated into the project which compensate for the modifications of the particular standard. So it'll be up to the Plan Commission to determine whether or not the proposal with the paint scheme to match the rest of the building, with the landscaping, with the rest of the plans, meets those requirements for a modification. Moving on to the east addition, you can see a little bit better in this inset that the equipment that is on the outside of the building is going to be in between the two, the existing building and the building addition. So the goal is for all of that exterior equipment to be fully screened by the building itself. And you can see in the floor plan what the proposed addition will incorporate as well. Turning to the materials, insulated precast concrete panels that'll match the existing elevation on this side of the building. There will be a pre-finished metal canopy with stone piers over the new employee entrance. When we get to the elevations, Plan Commissioners will note that there are no windows proposed on the east elevation of the addition. That's due to production requirements. And there are 6 overhead doors proposed on the southwest corner for packaging. These are what the elevations for the west addition look like. It's a little bit difficult to determine from these particular color elevations what the existing and the proposed are, how that's a little bit different. When we get to the renderings, it'll be a little bit more apparent, but again, the paint scheme that exists on the building will be continued around on all sides of the metal panel. So it'll look like one continuous pattern on the building. There will be no interruption. So we again thank the applicant for incorporating that. And the West Addition will look pretty much like it is on the screen. It is a little bit different than what's out there now. What's out there now looks to be kind of a beige wall, but we are requesting, and the applicant has included in this rendering, that band along the bottom. That will be one continuous element, breaks up the building a little bit. Also allows for that section of code that says walls in excess of 100 feet in length need to have some kind of relief to the building or change in pattern or materials in order to break up that facade. The east elevation for the addition, again, matching what's there, changing it up a little bit to provide some variation on the building, calling out that new employee entrance as well. And the east elevation, which again does not include windows, but that's for the production requirements. And that south elevation showing those 6 overhead dock doors. And what you will see from the parking lot, this is from the employee entrance. So this is where the main front door will be. A little bit of a unique inclusion here are your aerial perspectives showing what the overall facility will look like post additions. So we've got a view looking kind of northwest and southeast. If there are no further questions and the Plan Commission is satisfied with the proposal as presented, there is a suggested motion on the screen for approval. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. We'll go to the commissioners for questions, comments. Christine?
I have no questions or comments. Thank you.
Okay. Matt?
I have a few comments. So the retaining walls that are on the south portion of the project, Carrie, if you bring those up. Yes, right there is fine. The one that's in the addition just south of the freezer, so on the southwest, want to make sure that the applicant is working with We Energies. It appears to be that the retaining wall is within that easement for the overhead aerial. Just want to make sure that they continue to work with them or touch base with We Energies in regards to aerial and distances and clearances and things along those lines. On the retaining wall to the southeast on the other addition, I guess a suggestion and thought we had would be trying to blend that wall a little better as far as a curve towards the end on Long Howell might blend in, look a little more aesthetically pleasing. And then our last comment would be on the exit on the new parking on the very north. They had turning templates with semis, so delivery trucks or trucks leaving. And it appeared that they did go into the southbound lanes. Did notice that on the other driveways, exits, anything that was turning to the right, their radiuses for their curb and gutter seemed to be a little larger. If we could get that to be expanded a little bit to try to ease that or eliminate the encroachment into southbound lanes, that would be appreciated. Those are our comments.
Thank you, Matt. Dawn?
Just a real quick question. They're talking about the parking, and they have 400 now and 500 maybe in the future. Do they have enough parking areas for everybody?
So first shift is their largest shift, and that is anticipating 250. So that's how the parking is calculated for this particular type of facility. So they actually have more than would be necessary. The 500 overall employees are through all shifts. It is a 24/7 operation, so it'll be broken up.
Thank you.
Okay. Greg?
No questions, thank you.
Chris?
I have no questions, thank you.
Okay. Don?
No questions.
Fred?
I have no questions.
Chauncey?
I have a question for the applicant.
Okay. Not sure if they're with us. Kevin, do we have a representative with us?
Yep, we have several. We have the surveyor, the architect, the developer, and the VP.
Who'd ever like to speak, that'd be great.
Okay, so my question for the applicant is in regards to the dog run. Can you provide some information on how individuals from the building would access the dog run safely? Because it looks like you have to go across a parking lot to get to it.
Can you hear me?
Yes?
They currently have it on the side of the building now, and they.
Dominic, excuse me, could you just identify yourself for the record,
Sure,
please?
no problem. Dominic Ferrante, I'm with Brian Brian Design. We're the architect and builder for the project. Do you need any other information, or is that adequate?
No, that should be fine.
Okay. We've talked about that, and there is an access point here, and there's an access point here. This is more just for convenience. This is probably the access point that would be utilized
Excuse me,
by.
Dom. We are not able to see your screen, so when you say here and here, can you identify what you mean
Sure.
by here?
There's a gate on the east side, which is more towards the north side of it. And if you could point to it with your cursor for me, that'd be helpful. And then there's another one on the east side that's further south. Those are the two access points, and they're basically gates to coincide with the overall fence that's going to be around the enclosure. The fence will basically be a similar enclosure as to the existing slightly smaller dog run that they currently have. But in any case, the entry point would be the one that's further south, which is the shorter distance. And the travel would occur basically along the either the right side or left side around that main parking lot after you exited through the sidewalk at the employee entrance or the office entrance. And you work towards the drive to get to the entrance of the dog run area.
And can you review this again? Where are the sidewalks to access this?
There aren't any specific sidewalks. We are just going to have like a open grass area at the entry points.
And so who would use this dog run?
Employees,
would it be individuals that are just coming into the parking lot?
Individuals that work at the facility.
Oh, okay.
Only.
Yeah, so for Stella and Chewy's, the office, this is Luke Cooley, VP of Manufacturing for Stella and Chewy's. We allow our office employees to bring in their dogs to the office with them and to work at the office. So we like to provide for all of our employees that dog run capability so they can take them out, you know, give them an opportunity to exercise, and that would be the main user of this dog run.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Chauncey?
This is Carrie. I did actually skip over that point, but it was made in the staff report that we did recommend if any employees are going to actually be walking from the facility itself to that dog run, that we incorporate some kind of striping or signage to show where they are crossing in order to get to that area, should they not be just going straight from the parking lot to that entrance. I guess it would depend more on how employees would use it, whether or not they are crossing that parking lot between the building and the dog run itself.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. My question is really for the applicant. It concerns Commissioner Sullivan's questions out of engineering with retaining wall about putting the curve on it and the easement. Is that something that would be amenable? And are we working through that?
This is Dominic again. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We are working with staff. That one we've already adjusted a bit. The one on the east we haven't, but I think we could introduce a bit of a curve on the farthest east end of it, which I think is what engineering was kind of hinting at, and we wouldn't have any issue making that a little bit of a radius as well to terminate it on the east end. And we are actively engaged with ATC on the permission for the, not so much the one on the east, but the one on the west that encroaches on the east easement a bit. We are working with them for approval on that retaining wall as well.
We appreciate that. It does kind of anchor out our south side, and you know, it's one of the first things you see when you hit the city, and it's a fabulous building. We think the landscape could add to it, at least in my opinion. So we'd appreciate that curve, as Matt had indicated. I'm glad to see the additions coming. It's wonderful that you guys invested in Oak Creek and decided to expand in Oak Creek. And it's exciting for a lot of people that'll be looking for some quality work there. So I think it's a win-win all the way around, and I think it's really a unique feature that with the dog run park for the employees. Just kind of shows how business is being conducted differently these days. So very good. Does anybody else have any comments or questions to wrap up?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, Fred.
What about lighting for that dog run? Would they have any type of lighting so that if you use it in the evening, that you can see the area without any problems?
Good question.
The intended use is for the office, and the office is not a 3-shift office. It's basically the daytime shift. I think the lighting is adequate for the majority of the time that the potential users would be using it. We can work through that with Stella and Chewy and see if they want some additional lighting. But currently, we're just getting a little bit of off lighting from the parking lot lighting onto the dog park. And again, the intended use is for office employees, and the office employees are typically there the normal 8 to 5 hour, which is daylight hours for the majority of the year. A little bit of darkness in the winter, but other than that, it's daylight hours. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, I have one follow-up question. I know that Carrie identified that planning suggested kind of a pathway for the employees. So can I receive some feedback on your thoughts about having a pathway from the building to the dog run?
You mean striping or a physical?
Striping.
Physical. Okay, striping.
Yes. Is that what it was called, Carrie, the striping?
We recommended either striping or signage or some kind of combination thereof. Something visual so that pedestrians and vehicles would know that there would be people crossing in that particular area to get to the dog park.
We could probably work something out to provide kind of a striped pedestrian zone that leads from one of the entries to the parking, to the dog park entrance.
Yeah, I think just to comment on that from Stella and Chewy's perspective, I think it's a good call out and something from a safety aspect that we would be fully engaged with, and we'll work with Brian to make sure we get something like that implemented.
Great. Thank you, Lucas.
Quick question
yes.
for Carrie. Do we have to include that in the motion?
No, we don't.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else before we go to a motion? Hearing nothing, motion please.
Hannah moved that the Plan Commission approves the site and building plans submitted by Deborah Kessler, STC, Oak Creek, LLC, for the properties at 101 and 111 West Oakview Parkway with the following conditions. 1, that all relevant code requirements are in effect. 2, that the certified survey map combining the properties shall be submitted for recording prior to the submission of building permit applications. 3, that all mechanical equipment, transformers, and utility boxes, ground, building, and rooftop are screened from view. 4, that all revised plans, site, building, landscaping, etc., are submitted in digital format for review and approval by the Plan Commission or Department of Community Development prior to the submission of building permit applications.
Can I just have one clarification? The Plan Commission or Department of Community Development actually just have the plan submitted to the Department of Community Development for this particular one, since there are no changes to the plans that are being required by the Plan Commission. So just Department of Community Development.
As stated now by Carrie.
Seifert
Thank you.
seconds.
Okay. Before I do the roll, one of my questions was going to concern if fire had anything, but Carrie, you said you could follow up with them if they had any questions or concerns, correct?
Yes, I can. And I had talked to Mike Havey, Assistant Chief Mike Havey, about this before. He did not express any immediate concerns, so we will continue to work with the applicant and we will continue to work with the fire department on any questions that may arise.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Hannah, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Lalani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Okay. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Good luck. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Item 6F is a conditional use permit amendment. It is requested by Medical Support Services and Tender Touch Therapy for an outdoor commercial recreation facility on the property at 140 East Rawson. All right, Carrie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The current zoning for this particular property is M1, and a conditional use permit had been issued initially for a clinic facility on this property for Tender Touch Therapy. And that CUP was issued in November of 2019 and amended in January of this year to include an indoor recreation facility or a gym, which is actually immediately south in the suites to the south of the clinic. Within the conditions and restrictions for that indoor commercial facility, however, there was a restriction that prohibited outdoor activities, including recreation areas and display of any kind of merchandise. The proposal then requires that a conditional use permit amendment occur prior to instituting any kind of outdoor recreation area on this facility. The proposed area is east of the existing clinic in the depressed loading dock, and that would be surrounded by a 4-foot tall chain link fence. The area itself would be in Building C on the north. These are the existing leased areas for the clinic and the gym. North is to the left of the screen. And this is the proposed area for that outdoor recreation facility. They're proposing about 60 by 50 for that area. The request is for the use only. So it would require, should it be recommended for approval, site plan review to review those materials and the screening and the opacity of the proposed fence for that particular area. There are no additional employees or clients that are anticipated with this particular request. There will be the same hours as for the clinic, and this area, unlike the indoor gym, the indoor recreation component, would not be available for rent. So it's not going to be on that gym portion of the clinic facility. So it cannot be rented out or used by anybody other than the clinic and their clients. So if there are no questions or if there are no concerns by the Plan Commission for this particular use, there is a suggested motion for approval on the screen. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. We'll go to the commissioners. Commissioner Chandler, questions?
I do have a question for the applicant.
Kevin will check and see if they're with us.
Yep, we do. We have Dustin with us.
Okay.
My question for the applicant is, can you provide more information on what recreational activities would occur in this outdoor area?
Dustin, you should be able to speak. You'll just have to unmute yourself and then name and address for the record.
Yep, Dustin Akelski, 1020 James Drive, Suite G, Heartland, Wisconsin, 53029. I'm representing the applicant and I work for St. John Properties. So the goal of this outdoor area is to basically just provide a space for the therapists and the clients to just do their therapy work in an outdoor environment. So it's going to have very similar type equipment that they have in their indoor environment that's in the clinic right now. It just gives them an opportunity to take their therapy outside and kind of just enjoy an outdoor environment. So it's just going to have kind of standard outdoor playground equipment and then some specialty equipment that just is kind of used for the sensory activities.
Okay, and can you also share more information on how you would like protect the privacy of the individuals that may be out there? I know I read there's a chain link fence, but is there anything being added to the fence?
Yeah, well, the tenant wanted to keep it kind of open, so the fence is there just to protect and kind of isolate the space, just to make sure that the area is kind of defined. So they're at the end of the property, so there's really no one else that traverses to that end of the parking lot other than people that either work or, well, it's actually just probably employees from medical support services or We Rock the Spectrum gym. So there really isn't anything proposed as far as like screening to make it more private, but there hasn't really been any desire or kind of any request from the tenant to have any type of screening for privacy. The intent is just to have a safe place to take clients outside.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is that it? Commissioner
Yes.
Chauncey, is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Fred?
Yeah, I have one question. Would there be a gate of any kind for that outdoor area? Just so that in case they have to evacuate and they can't go back in the building, they could get out of that area.
Yeah, there'll be some type of gate and an egress plan to make sure that in an event of emergency that everyone can safely get out of the area.
Thank you.
Okay. Don?
Are there going to be, so the pool next door, correct me if I'm wrong, are these going to be docks, or don't they have docks or overhead doors for truck deliveries on these backsides?
Yeah, so the building is set up to have deliveries that come to this building. The medical support services actually leases the last 5 bays of the building. So the first available dock would be roughly a 30-foot bay, so about 150 feet away. So there is truck traffic that would be coming back to the building, but the truck traffic would be over 90 feet away from where this proposed area is.
Not to make you repeat yourself. So this area we're looking at right now with the yellow, that is fenced in, or that's going to be fenced in?
That would be fenced in.
Okay, as long as there's not a truck backing in with, you know, how trucks can be with their exhaust right next to it. That was the only concern. Other than that, I don't have a problem.
Okay, thanks, Don. Chris?
No questions, thank you.
Greg?
No questions at this time, thank you.
Dawn?
Yeah, my question was answered. Thank you.
Okay, Matt?
None.
And Christine?
Nothing here, thank you.
Okay. All my questions were answered as well on the fence, so seeing no further questions or comments, motion please.
Seifert moves that the Planning Commission recommends that the Common Council approve a conditional use permit amendment to allow an outdoor recreational facility behind the existing clinic and multi-tenant building C on the property at 140 East Rawson Avenue after a public hearing.
Guzikowski, second.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Greg?
Sorry, I was muted. Lorick, aye.
Fukevich, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Donnie, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
All right, thank you very much. Item G, 6G, is a conditional use permit, and it is by AST Learn, doing business as Wisconsin Early Autism Project for a conditional use permit amendment for a medical clinic and outdoor commercial recreation facility on the property at 140 East Ross and Cary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a similar request, except for the fact that this is not an existing clinic. So we do need to have one request for the clinic itself to allow an additional one on the property. And then for the additional outdoor recreation facility that would be associated with this particular clinic. So this would be in addition to the amendment that was just recommended for approval by the Plan Commission. The proposal is for this particular area to have an early autism treatment facility. They are going to be located in Building B, so not in the same building, but in the center building on the south side. They have approximately 5,000 to 8,000 gross square feet of leased area that is in negotiation at this point. And their outdoor recreation area is actually going to be on the west side of the building in the existing loading dock area as well. So for those who are unfamiliar with the site plan itself, this is the overall development with 3 buildings, 2 of which are in existence right now. The proposal that was just reviewed was in Building C at the north side, and we are now going to be looking at the facility proposed for Building B on the south side. So the yellow area is actually more of a generalized area for that outdoor recreation portion of the request, but when we look at the lease plan, or the floor plan rather, the blue square rectangle actually shows what they're thinking of in terms of that outdoor area, which would also be fenced. It's about 50 by 25 on the back of the building. Now, a little bit different here. This is not in a depressed loading dock area. This is actually where their doors are at grade. And it is at the entrance, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more. But in terms of the details for the clinic itself, they are anticipating 30 employees. They are not called doctors in the request. They're all called technicians. So when we talk about things like parking, we have to look at the ratio of technicians to clients that we are talking about here. Again, they're anticipating 30 employees at a 1-to-1 ratio for clients. So that's 1 client per employee, 30 employees on site at any given time. The proposed hours of operation for the clinic, Monday through Friday, 7 to 6:30. The client hours, however, are going to be 7:30 to 6 during the week. Saturday, they're anticipating hours from 9 to 4, and Sunday, they're anticipating closure. Minimum parking requirements for medical, dental, and similar health type uses are calculated at 5 stalls per doctor plus 1 space for every peak shift employee. Again, we are not talking about doctors per se, but they're called technicians. So the minimum based on the 1-to-1 ratio would be a total of 60 stalls that would be required. 1 stall for every employee and then 1 stall for every client. The development overall has 284 stalls that have been provided, 95 of which are assigned to Building B. There are 21 stalls immediately adjacent to the clinic area, which you can see in the site plan here. There's a possibility of sharing an additional 11 spaces across the way with a tenant that is at the southern end of Building C. They are listed as a light user, so there might be some ability to share that particular allotment for that leased area. Now, management of the existing parking area for the entire development would be the responsibility of the landowner or their management company. We've been told that the leases don't have specified stalls, but again, we need to make sure that all of the proposed uses within the development have adequate parking based on the overall. The requests here are for the uses only. Again, if the outdoor recreation area is recommended for approval, it would require future site plan approval by the Plan Commission. What I can tell you from the conceptual plans, however, is that the outdoor area is proposed to have 6-foot-tall vinyl privacy fence on the existing asphalt. Staff, however, do have a few concerns for that outdoor recreation area. One is the location itself. While it is behind a screen wall and it is slightly protected that way, it is at the entrance to this particular area. And the entrance is between 2 buildings. So that has the ability to, or the potential to have multiple trucks that could be accessing this particular drive act here and going past that outdoor area. It's unlike the one that we just reviewed because it's at the entrance to this facility rather than at the north part, where the only people who would be going that far north besides whoever's emptying the dumpster enclosure are the people who are going to be either going into that facility or more likely just employees. So we do have that concern. All of the truck traffic has to go past here. It's not just one or two. Everybody accessing must go here. And because we have at-grade and depressed docks, we're not talking about just one type of truck either. We're talking about a range of vehicles that could be going past this area. The other thing is that while we didn't get full plans, which we wouldn't for a conditional use permit request, and we recognize that, there were no bollards or other safety measures included that would kind of alleviate some of these concerns. There was a proposal that said that they could put additional employee parking there to kind of buffer the trucks from that outdoor fenced area, but staff is not in support of that. That just seems to make things a little bit more congested there. It may end up having the effect of blocking some kind of emergency exit. So we didn't even propose that to go forward to the Plan Commission because it wasn't supported by staff. We do feel, however, that a more appropriate location for an outdoor area would be removed from the potential truck area, the truck traffic, which is why staff were in support of the previous outdoor recreation area, but we do not support this particular one. With that in mind, we do have several options that we provided to the Plan Commission for consideration. One is outright approval, in which case you would just go forward with the stated motion for approval that was included in the Plan Commission packet. Two would be to have split motions, meaning you would take each individual request on its own. So you would have one motion that would be recommending or reviewing the clinic, and then the other one for the outdoor recreation area. Number three would be approval in part. It's based on that split motion, but basically what this alternative states is if the commission wants to just approve the clinic and just outright exclude the outdoor recreation area, you would simply not include it in your motion. And that would be highlighted in the bold portion, but in the parentheses in the suggested motion. So if you wish to just say we want to approve the clinic, but not the outdoor rec area, you would just take out what's in parentheses in bold. Those are the three options for Plan Commission consideration, and I defer to the mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. We'll review that before the motion once again, but we'll go through questions. So let's start with Christina. Christine?
I have a question for
now. Matt?
I guess we have concerns in regards or alternatives as far as putting the bollards. Could the applicant speak towards that? Would they be willing to include bollard spaced at a certain distance to provide that additional or improved safety as far as separation between truck and this area, outdoor area?
Destiny can speak on that, and then just their name and address for the record again.
Oh, I don't know if I was unmuted.
Yep, you're good.
Oh, okay. Dustin Kelski, 1020 James Drive, Suite G, Heartland, Wisconsin, 53029. We were looking more towards the use itself and not so much, we didn't really have that much focus on the fencing, but we definitely would be willing to look at whatever measures that would need to be taken, a site plan review to obviously keep the safety of the people that are out there safe. We do have some equipment that's back there. Our electrical gear is housed close to that location further on that screen wall, and it has bollards there, and we could extend those bollards out to also extend protection to the fenced area to make sure that if for some reason a vehicle went rogue, that it wouldn't go through that fenced or into that area where the occupants are. It's things we definitely be willing to look at. The tenant has expressed that they need the outdoor area for their use. We looked at different locations within the building to try to find the best spot to tuck them as best we could to kind of protect that fenced area. And the fenced area was brought in on its width heading to the west from the back of the building to make it exposure towards that main drive aisle as minimal as possible. So there's quite a bit of distance between the main drive aisle, and then they are going to have a little bit of about 30 feet of distance before the next available tenant space, which they're also looking to potentially reserve as a rights of first refusal for potential expansion if things go well for the business in Oak Creek. So we definitely tried to find a spot. We thought with the screen wall, it shelters one side of it. And then with narrowing up the width of that section, we kind of compressed it against the building to make sure it stays out of the drive aisle. And because that screen wall is there too, it doesn't allow cars to kind of stay out of the center. They have to go to the center to get out of that area because the drive is located pretty much centrally between the two buildings. But it's definitely something that we would be willing to look at to put protective measures. We want everyone to be safe as well.
That is all I have.
Thanks, Matt. Dawn?
In regards to that, it says there's a screen wall on that edge. What does the screen wall look like? Is that a cement wall?
Yeah, it's a roughly 8 foot tall, 12-inch wide CMU screen wall.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Greg?
I don't have any questions at this time. I think Carrie covered it really well, and the applicant just kind of made the clarifying remarks, so I don't have questions. I get that safety was the concern, and I'm not sure if that's something that we can address when they do site plans for it to address those safety concerns. Is that something where if the commission approves and goes forward with this, we can address the safety concerns at site review? Is that correct?
Should the Plan Commission recommend this for Common Council approval, then we would have the opportunity at a future date to review site plans that would look at the screening, the fencing, the privacy, and the protection for that outdoor area, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Nothing further right now.
Thanks, Greg. Chris?
No, my questions have all been answered now. Thank you.
Okay. Don?
I don't have any questions. I like the fact that we can kind of do a site review on this. With that being said, then I really don't have problems with this at the time.
Okay. Fred?
I don't have anything at this time. I still have a little safety concern, but we can address those questions later.
Okay. Chauncey?
I do have a question for the applicant. So for this tenant, this is a clinic, and so is it there, and there's also a clinic at Building C. What are the differences between these two clinics?
Oh, I don't know if you can hear me. This is Dustin again. I don't know if I have to restate my address.
No.
But this clinic primarily, they deal with autism. So the other clinic on the site deals with other types of child disorders. They don't have any autism type therapies at the use. So this is just a kind of another complementary business to kind of, provide autism therapy.
And so is it possible to use I think that's the north part of the building, to have the tenant move there so that you can have this recreation area in a safer location?
The problem with the north end of the building is the building gets bigger. They've done a lot of layouts. They prefer the south end of the building, and they were adamant having the grade access in the back. So that kind of limited us just to southern exposures of the buildings, and we don't have building A up yet. And building C, we have an existing tenant that has taken the southern portion of the building. So this seemed to be the only spot that the tenant felt that it would work for them.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. No, I can understand, the equipment's probably needed for the treatment and the therapy. It's safety concerns, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. Most of the aldermen and commissioners brought it up. If we can get a kick at, I don't have a problem with the use. I understand it's all about the safety. We really do have to secure that. So if we get another kick at the cat at it there, and we can work with the applicant and the property owner to make that work for everybody, I'm good. So,
Mayor, this is Matt Sullivan.
yeah.
I have, maybe Dustin could clarify a little bit. Dustin, the screen wall that is placed on building B, how long is that from the building? How far away is the end of that from the building? Do you have an idea?
The screen wall goes right up to the corner of the building and actually extends all the way to the drive aisle. So it runs the whole length of the parking lot. It should be.
What is that rough distance?
I think it's like 80 feet. Give me 1 second here. I can pull a plan up. I guess this is the benefit from remote meetings.
I just want to, this might help us a little bit in some kind of comfort, knowing that the width of the proposed outdoor area is 25 feet, as I understand, and if this screen wall is 88, that provides 50 some feet of distance between the drive aisle and the outdoor area that they're proposing. And if there was other additional safety measures, I think, you know, as far as the way I look at it is traffic, that's a significant, you know, distance. And if you add the additional safety measures, I feel more comfortable just knowing that and understanding that, I guess. So I just wanted a little clarification.
Yeah, so the screen wall is roughly 75 feet in length.
Okay. So you're really only protecting you really only have to protect two sides of it.
Yeah, so we're roughly about 50 feet away from the drive aisle.
I mean, you could even go with a guardrail type system there, couldn't you?
Yeah, there's a lot of things I think that could be done to prevent, again, a rogue vehicle. I think that's the only scenario that we could come up with that would kind of happen in that corner, because there's really no, again, the main drive aisle is going to be down the center. We don't have any other tenants in this building to talk about other uses and kind of traffic flow, unfortunately. But we anticipate all of the neighbors to the north. Typically with our flex buildings, a lot of the traffic is going to be either just, you know, shop vans or sprinters, or just deliveries from like FedEx and UPS type vehicles. All of the heavy delivery type users would usually require a dock door, which all is going to happen on the north end of the property. And all those semi trucks are going to traverse straight till they get into the northern end of the parking lot and then back up to the respective dock. And that area is isolated by guardrails already as the transition goes from at grade to dock grade.
Okay, thank you, Dustin. Okay, commissioners. Oh, what? I'm sorry. Somebody have a comment? Question?
Oh, that was all I had. That was all I had.
Okay. So again, I think we're all kind of in agreement. The use isn't the problem, it's safety. So as long as the motion allows us to have access to that site plan for final approval on that, that would be my recommendation. Did I state that correctly, Carrie?
It wouldn't even necessarily need to be part of the motion. It's just a fact that they would have to go to site plan review if it would be approved. It's a requirement.
Okay, and I think that's what we'd like to do. At least that's what I was hearing. I want to speak for the commissioners. So, see a few nods. If that's the case, would somebody like to do the motion?
I'll go. Oldani moves that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council approves a conditional use permit amendment to allow an additional clinic and outdoor recreational area behind the clinic in multi-tenant Building B on the property of 140 East Rawson Avenue after a public hearing.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Oric, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Oldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Okay. All All right, Dustin, thank you very much. Appreciate the information you shared with us to make that decision.
All right, sounds good. You guys have the rest of your night.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I just want, Commissioner Oldani, your vote was a little bit muffled. Can you please repeat your vote?
Oldani, aye.
Thank you very much.
Carrie, just as long as we're on votes, when Don's link dropped, does he have to vote on that, or are we okay with just the commissioners that did it?
No, he was registered as a no vote, but that's okay. It was unanimous for everybody else who was in attendance. So it'll just be listed as a not as an against, but as an absent vote, or
Okay.
not voted. You know what I'm trying to say, right?
Yep, I got you.
Go with the double negatives again.
Yeah, here we go. There was no vote to record.
So real quickly, just before we adjourn, thanks to staff again, Lori, Carrie. I see Doug took part of his night to be here too. And of course, Kevin, our IT guy that really pulls us out of the fire. Appreciate it. There's a lot of work that went into this agenda as well, with Stella and Chewy stuff, and takes a lot of work. And engineering, don't mean to leave you guys out either. There's a lot of pre-work that goes into this, and really appreciate it that the meetings go this smoothly, and it's because of your hard work. So thank you for that. And then farmers market, Dawn, give us an update. What's going on?
We have 2 orchards are now coming every week from now on, and they join the 30 other vendors at the market. And if you really want to be safe, we still do the drive-through curbside pickup. So if you want to order online, you can still do that.
Okay, and do you have a new meat market vendor coming?
We do. We had one. It started last week, hometown, and I had the bacon today for lunch, and it was amazing.
Oh, great, excellent. Okay, with that then, maybe we'll run into you at the farmers market this weekend, everybody. Adjournment, please.
Carrillo moves to adjourn at 7:45.
Hannah seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Carrillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Oldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Oh, sorry, Chris.
That's all right.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
I think we got them all. So again, thanks to everybody. Thanks, commissioners. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see. I will not be here with you for the, Chris, I won't be here.
Okay.
That is, I believe, the 8th, correct, Carrie?
Yes, that is correct.
So again, if by chance you aren't going to be here, please contact Carrie to make sure there is a quorum, because I believe one other commissioner may be absent as well.
Yeah, so far 2 are out for the 8th.
Okay, great. Assistant Chief Havey, anything? We're just signing off. Thanks for coming back, though.
Sure, I just signed back in, so I unfortunately had to attend another meeting, so.
Okay. Have a good night, and we will see you in about a month's time for me. So, okay, be good. Night, all.
Good night.
Night.